So hello, everyone. Welcome to Getting Your Life Back. I'm going to talk quickly today about time management skills, tech hacks that I use. So please feel free to ask questions. I know that the comments are being monitored as well too. So if you can ask your questions, put it in the chat. At the end, I'll have some time for you to actually ask questions as well too. So I'm just going to share my screen and we're going to get started right away here. So getting your life back. What does that even mean in a market like today where you're just being run off your feet? That's a big thing I keep hearing about is I'm just running. People don't have time to breathe. And don't get me wrong, I am also running around like crazy too. However, you still can have somewhat of a life, even if you are selling a lot of houses. Just a little bit about me. I love my family, working hard in technology. I am a mom of 3 kids. I previously was a business coach trained by Tom Ferry, and I'm a Real Academy instructor, and I am a top producing agent with an assistant team. So it's not like I just sell one house a month and I can tell you about time management. I'm talking to you from a high level perspective. We are going to be on track to hit about 80 homes by June this year. So I'm giving you that perspective so you know that we are actually working a lot of deals as well. So I'm going to talk to you about how not to answer your phone all the time. I just solved this problem a month ago because with the influx of business coming in the last couple of months, it's been something like I've never ever experienced before. Leverage your time with automations, calendar hack, and recharging. Recharging is really important when it comes to managing your time because if you're just burnt out, you're not going to be able to give anything. So let's get started. How not to answer your phone all the time. This is one of my favorite books. I know it's been expanded and updated since I've read it first, but it's called The 4-Hour Workweek. And the biggest thing about the 4-Hour Workweek talks about automation, delegation, and actually elimination. So before you even do automation and delegation, you're supposed to look at what you can actually eliminate. So a big tip for you guys is what I did is just sat down and go, what are all the things I'm doing? Like everything from paperwork to showing houses to taking the phone to answer questions about a listing. All the things need to be written down. What are things you can eliminate? What are things that are like literally just a waste of time and you really probably shouldn't be doing it? Then before you delegate, before you get an assistant, look at what you can do to automate. Make sure you can actually have an automation in place, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then delegate, which is if you're a solo agent right now and you don't have an assistant, probably you need one. You're going to need an assistant before you bring on another agent. I see a lot of teams developing where they're just trying to bring on agents and they don't even have the administrative help that they need. The mindset is also a big thing. A lot of people go, well, I can't set hours. I can't not work on Sundays. That's a mindset thing. You're thinking, oh, well, they'll never work with me because I don't work on Sundays. I'll lose the business. A big part of our business, as you all should know probably, is that it's all about mindset. So you got to change your mindset on, what you're looking for in your business and be very certain of what things you want. Maybe you want more time with your family, but maybe you don't. Make sure you know what it is and what does it look like so that you can actually get to that proper mindset. So if you set your hours, you can change your voicemail and just say, thanks so much for calling. I will return calls as soon as possible or as I'm available, or you can, some voicemails I've heard is, I will return phone calls between 1 to 3 p.m. I don't know. I don't like that, but I do say that I don't typically work Sundays. So if you're calling me on a Sunday and it's urgent, please send me a text. Otherwise, I'll be returning your phone call on Monday. Now, the phone number thing, if I could redo real estate all over again, I've been doing this for 13 years. I would probably start off separately with a new line that is not my personal line and just have one phone number that is for business. So currently right now we use Follow Up Boss, and I did actually get a phone number attached to Follow Up Boss because it is all synced with the CRM. So I can see who I called, I can see the text messages, everything's all in one. And the beauty of that is that that phone number will ring to wherever that is logged in. So recently we just hired a virtual receptionist company to take phone calls, and all the phone calls just directly go there. I still have my other number. Everything's all on one device anyways. And if I'm in a meeting, I can forward my phone to that phone number, or I can just put I'm in a meeting so that the call flow instructions I gave to the virtual receptionist, if it was to contact me or patch the call through, they can see I'm in a meeting right now and they won't even try to patch me through, and they'll just send me a message. So the virtual receptionist changed my life literally about a month ago, because my phone was ringing about people were calling on listings and asking property information. They were asking if it was available. Agents were asking about if it was available. These are easy questions that someone else can answer that I don't need to answer. And it might seem like it only takes you 1 or 2 seconds or 10 seconds, but you have to understand with time management, it's those small things that you think take no time at all, is what's actually adding up and taking not just time, but your headspace time. So the virtual reception has been a game changer. They're very affordable. There's lots of different options. Set expectations with your clients that you're done. Like I tell my clients at 8 p.m., we're done. Like unless we're in the middle of a deal, I'm not going to answer my phone after 8 p.m. And I won't be starting again till 8, even though I'm working prior to 8 a.m. And that's been a big shift for me. Like I have to try to not reach out to people between the hours I say I'm not working. And I tell my clients, hey, if you are an active client with me and you will get the virtual receptionist, tell them you're working with me and you will automatically get patched through, because that's the rule that I gave. So I have a whole bunch of different rules where it says, are you a member of the public? Are you a past client? Are you actually working with Melody? Are you a realtor? Once the call center figures that out, then they have another set of questions. So if it's a member of the public, it then gets siphoned out all the way to patching a call through to my mortgage broker. So like I mentioned earlier, write out a list of everything you do, and then also mark each task if it's something you like doing or not like doing. Now, you might not like making phone calls and prospecting. So maybe you want to hire that out, but honestly, as the coach in me, you're gonna have to do some things you don't like. However, a lot of us don't like paperwork, and that is something you don't need to do. That's something you can hire. There's transaction management companies that you can hire. There's assistants that you can hire. There's virtual assistants you can hire. Just see the money-making activities and the non-money making activities, because that's important to see if that's something you can do or something that you don't need to do. Maybe you love posting on social media, but you probably maybe shouldn't be on it that much. So maybe you should be delegating some of that out so you can have some free time. So here's some assessment of tasks. Oh, I have a spelling error there. Prospecting, following up, setting up appointments, going on appointments. Those should be the core of what you have to do. Marketing plan and development, paperwork, transaction processing, market research, building a team, open houses. These are things that you could potentially build a team. You can have an assistant. There's a partnership. There's a lot of opportunities there in terms of how you can leverage your time. So set a routine for all of these types of things so that you know what your schedule is every day. Managing your tasks. I know for me, I always lose my train of thought because you get that phone call and now you're putting out a fire, but you were working on something before and you've probably forgotten. I know I forget a lot of times. So I'll show you what I use to make sure that I know, oh, I was actually doing that, so I should go back to it. Phone in airplane mode for 1 to 2 hours while completing tasks is something you probably would find very useful. So there are things that we do need to do that you can prospect by emailing and texting and whatever on your computer as well. And you can just put your phone in airplane mode so that you don't have to answer it. Or like I said, hire a virtual receptionist, have someone else answer your calls. So the doing, done method is I'm using Trello, which is Kanban style. So you can see what tasks I need to do. So here I had to prepare the Real Academy presentation, but then my phone rings because someone's booking a home inspection and I deal with that right away. Then I somehow go to my email because I was going to email the client or whatever. And then I'm answering emails. So you can see that rabbit hole that you end up going down. I have to go back to Trello and go, oh, right, I was doing this. So I'm going back to that and then dragging it over to done. This is great too. If you have an assistant team, you can kind of see what they're doing so you don't interrupt them. If they're working on something urgent, wait until they're done and then make sure you can talk. There's so much stuff you can do with Trello. I'm just showing you the basic to do today, doing and done. And I'll just play Trello just so you can see what it is. So that's just give you an idea of what Trello is. We have used this in the past to track our showings, to see if my assistant had asked for showing feedback and myself, so we could talk and know if I have to follow up with an agent or if she's already got the information there. We've used it to track our listing flow, our workflows, marketing, YouTube, video planning. We use that to plan out all of our content. So that's one tool you can use. There are other tools that you can use as well. Automations will save your time. If you haven't heard of Zapier or Zapier, I don't know. The people say different words for this, but anyways, it's spelled right there. Schedule your emails, schedule your social media, then also leverage your time. Take one day a week or one day a month to plan out all your content. Open to close is something we tried working with. Transactly is a transaction management system, and also they can hire transaction managers to help you with transactions. Recently, we just started using Airtable, and it's something that we're really excited about, and maybe I'll do another session on that specifically in another class. But there's a lot of automations you can build in there, but it also allows you to have things more organized, even more so than Trello. So we've kind of progressed to using that. And action plans, which are also checklists. We use that on our CRM to keep ourselves, in the know. So if it's a client who just signed paperwork with you, now all these tasks pop up and you have to work on. So that's in Follow Up Boss in our CRM. But again, we're trying to convert everything over to Airtable for tasks as well. Now, the other thing I talked about was delegating. So you can get an assistant either virtual or in-house. And I think it depends on what you're looking for. If you want an assistant to run around, help you take key boxes off or drop things off, obviously you need somebody in-house. If you need someone to help you process paperwork, you don't necessarily need them in-house. I know when I first started, it was a lot easier to have someone in-house, because before the tech days, I'd have papers that I could just give to the assistant instead of having to scan everything and send it over virtually. But of course, our real estate world has changed quite a bit, so everything is usually already virtual. So taken from the Tom Ferry ecosystem, because that's kind of where I come from, there's some different things here I want to share. Some time management successful agents who do this. Mindset, they're passionate of what they do and are laser focused. So I talked about mindset earlier. Clear, just clarity about your objectives, a playbook. So just knowing what plays work and doing those things. If you're really good at making phone calls and talking to people and going on appointments, then do more of those things. And what is your playbook for listing appointments? Knowing all that, creating a listing presentation. I have a listing presentation I use, so I don't have to sit there and prepare every single time before my listing appointment another presentation. Yes, I use a CMA, so you need to have time to prepare for that. The way I leverage my time there is I have my assistant help me do some of the initial market positioning so that I can quickly go. Because when things are busy and you're running from appointment to appointment, how are you going to prepare for that listing appointment you set yesterday when you have appointments back to back to back to back? So that's one way, again, of doing that. Have systems for everything. I am a major systems nerd, and it's really important to have systems so that you can default to certain things. And that, again, that saves you time because you're not thinking through, what do I have to all do to get my showing set up or listing appointment. Bad day, bad client, bad transaction. Don't let it to affect your mindset, because those types of things will actually waste your time. Again, we're back at mindset. So know how to just be able to brush it off and move forward, and focus on the things that you can control, not on things you can't control. Because again, that negativity, again, sucks your time. It doesn't just suck up that little bit of time you think it takes. You start thinking about it throughout the day, and it just kind of paralyzes you from even doing anything. They also anticipate objections they will face and are prepared. So knowing your scripts, knowing the objections, knowing what you should say. If someone says there's not enough inventory, I don't want to sell my house because I don't know where I'm going to go. Know what you're going to say to those clients, so it doesn't cause you to pause and kind of panic. Be prepared, and you can role play with your colleagues. I know it's really busy, but guess what? You could wake up a little bit earlier or work a little bit later and schedule a role play with a fellow colleague so that you can be prepared. You say, hey, this person said this to me. What would you say in that situation? If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. Heard that so many times. And my dad's a realtor, and I've said that to him many times. It took him a long time to get one, and he does have one now. But don't forget that your time is worth money. So if you're trying to save money by just doing everything yourself, that's maybe not the best use of your time. And you might think, well, I'm not selling enough to warrant an assistant. You can start off by getting part-time assistants. You don't need to have a full-time 40-hour week. You can also, like I said earlier, get the transaction management, just pay per transaction. And another thing to leverage your time and time management is accountability. Having accountability partners to make sure that you're on track, having a coach to make sure you're on track and you're not wasting time. We're really good at wasting time. I think I can speak on behalf of all of us for that. So here's a calendar hack in terms of creating a list of priorities for every year and day. I wanted to find an example of what are my priorities? What are my rocks? And I'll show you this video.
There's a well-known story about a university professor that wanted to make a point about the importance of prioritizing how we spend our time. The professor stood in front of his class with a display of items. He took a large, empty jar and filled it with rocks, approximately 2 inches in diameter. He then asked the class if the jar was full, and they agreed, yes, the jar was full. The professor then took a box of pebbles and added them to the jar and gave it a little shake to move the pebbles into the open areas around the rocks. The professor asked the class again if the jar was full. They agreed, yes, it is full this time. The professor then took a box of sand and added it to the jar, filling the spaces between the rocks and the pebbles. He asked again, now, is the jar full? They laughed and agreed, yes, it's full. This jar represents your life. The big rocks signify the really important things in your life, such as health, family, and friends. The pebbles are the other things that matter in your life, such as work or school. And the sand signifies the remaining small stuff, such as material possessions. Now, if you were to reverse the order of filling the jar and add the sand first, there would not be enough room for the rocks and the pebbles. The same principle applies to your life. If you spend too much time on the small stuff, you won't have enough space or time to focus on the things that are truly important, the big rocks. So, prioritize the big rocks first. Practice self-care, spend quality time with the people you love, and the rest is just pebbles and sand. They will always find some space.
So this is an example, prime example of when people say to me, how do you have time to be with your family? How do you have time to do those things? And we all know that the pebbles, our work, can definitely fill up that entire jar if we don't put our family first. If we try to cram in family time after our work, it's not going to work because it's already full. So what I've done to deviate or solve this problem is it's called time blocking. So this is a sample of my calendar. Of the blue things are the appointments, which I've actually recently eliminated, and I'm taking even less appointments now. And the yellow thing is things I do in the office. And then the orange things are like personal. And then of course, like we've got meetings with teams. So these are to do with other people. And then you can see that like I have, oh, this is a bad example, but I typically have 2 scheduled family dinners minimum during the week because I want to make sure that I see my family for dinner at least twice a week, even when it's busy. And I treat it like an appointment. I don't tell my clients that I have to have dinner with my family. I just say I'm already booked for an appointment because they would never ask you to cancel your client's appointment for another client's appointment. They know that. So, and they do want you to have family life too, but do they really understand that fully? When they're in that moment, they're just really wanting your undivided attention. So this is one way to make sure that you have your time. And this is how I live. It literally does not exist if it's not in my calendar. I will forget if it's not in the calendar. So you can use Google Calendar. You can use whatever calendar you want, but use a calendar. I do choose an online version because I can share it with my husband and my family so I can see when their appointments are. They can see when I have appointments. It's a lot easier. My assistant team can see when I have appointments booked, and they won't book appointments on top of that. We use Calendly as well, so you can allow people to book appointments with you, and you can stipulate what times you're taking appointments and for what kind of appointments. So I have more availability for listing appointments than I do buying appointments because I'm not taking on as many buyers this year. So I purposely have buyers have to wait 2 weeks before they can actually book an appointment with me, and sellers actually can book right away and they have more availability. I have given them more time slots, whereas with that I don't. When I meet with other business affiliates, because that's part of a way I get business as well, they only get 2 times a week option. There's actually not that many options. It's important for me to get those appointments in, but I don't want to have that in there. So this allows, again, saving some time, because instead of going back and forth on text or phone, hey, what time works for you? That works. No, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. Hey, just book your time, pick a time that works for you in your calendar that works on my calendar. Typeform is another system we use to kind of save time as well. We gather a bunch of information prior to our meetings with our clients, and then I'm able to be prepared, saves time in our meeting, and then also they can choose an appointment here, and then everything's all booked and done in one. And of course, I talked about Trello. So don't forget to recharge, do things that allow you to recharge, and know what those things are. For me, it's crafting. Maybe it's not for you. Sometimes working out is a recharge. For me, that's not a recharge. That's like a thing I need to get going. So that's not a recharge. Unplugging the power of not being by your phone for even 1 hour, completely away from it. You'd be amazed how recharged you'll feel. Getting outdoors, maybe that's something that's important to you. Cars, movies, relationships, and connecting in meaningful ways. I know that when I was really busy and not managing my time well, I felt like a stranger to my friends and my family. And that's something I never want to have experience again, because the relationships I have were so shallow at that time. Because though I physically was present, my mind was somewhere else. And so that's not why we got in this business. I didn't get into this business to lose my life. I got in this business to help others and leverage my skill set to help other people, and also be able to give my family the life that we want. So just make sure the why of your business is very clear, and don't forget it. And yeah, don't forget it. So that's my presentation. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I think I see something here. On airplane mode, would I still get my notification? Yes, everything will come after. Now, if you're on airplane mode, make sure to actually take your Wi-Fi off too. So if you're connected on Wi-Fi and you're on airplane mode, you'll still get your notifications if it was an iMessage. Does anyone have any other questions for me? So if you have questions you don't want to ask right now, feel free to find me on Facebook Workplace. I am happy to answer any questions, give you any tips. And then this video will also be on our Canadian Tech Savvy Agent YouTube channel. So you just go to canadiantechsavvyagent.ca and you'll be able to see stuff there. Francisco, that's a good thing to maybe Google. I have no idea if it's an emergency. Yeah, I use it just to like be disconnected for a little bit. So if it's that much of an emergency, I'm sure someone will figure out a way to get a hold of you too. I think there's a way for you to like, it'll ring through, but yeah, double check the Google machine. So thank you so much for coming out to my session today. And I will be talking again next month. And I'm actually going to talk about email-based, click-based intent marketing. It's email marketing. You're welcome. Bye.